Why some people cut everyone off. There's one sentence that shows up in almost every explanation of this. If walking away brought you relief, that proves it was the right call. It sounds like permission. It's actually the riskiest thing anyone tells you about why some people cut everyone off, and it's wrong for a reason almost no one explains. So before you decide what your silence means, let's look at what's actually happening underneath it. Because the people who pull away from everyone aren't all telling the same story. Not even close. Part 1. The misread. Here's how it usually looks from the outside. There's no fight, no final message, no speech. Someone just stops picking up, one name at a time, until the phone goes quiet. And to the people watching, it looks cold, selfish, a little bitter, maybe damaged. But those words describe the outside. We're going inside. And inside, it's two completely different stories that happen to look identical. The first one belongs to Priya. She's 29. A designer. The kind of person who used to have one friend she could tell anything. Priya wasn't naturally guarded. She didn't hold people at a distance. She opened all the way up once. And then the thing she trusted that friend with most ended up somewhere it was never supposed to go. What changed after that wasn't her mood. It was something quieter. The next time someone got close, her mind didn't register closeness. It registered exposure. Pull back early. Don't let that happen again. She didn't walk away because she was tired of people. She walked away because a wire that holds trust together had snapped, and no one had ever taught her how to reconnect it. Names and details have been changed. Priya is a composite drawn from common patterns I've encountered. You'd call that damage. Hold that word. Now the second story, and it breaks the word. This one belongs to Tasha. She's 33. About a year ago, she cleared almost everyone out of her life. And at the time, it felt completely right. Clean, justified. Then, months later, she remembered someone. Someone who had actually shown up. Someone who probably deserved to stay who she cut anyway. Not because they did anything wrong, but because she was too depleted to tell the difference between a threat and a person. That's not weak regret. That's something she didn't have language for yet. Same silence. Two completely different stories. And here's where it gets interesting. Almost every video about this would tell you Priya and Tasha are doing the same healthy thing, protecting their energy, and it would play soft music while it said so. That's exactly where the story goes wrong. And it starts with one nerve everyone gets backwards. Part 2. The mechanism. You've probably heard this part before. Your nervous system flips into a shutdown state to protect you, and that's why the quiet feels like peace. Here's the problem. That's not what shutdown is. In the model, most of these videos borrow Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory that deep shutdown branch isn't calm. It's the body going still. It's the state researchers linked to dissociation, to depression, to feeling flattened and far away. It is not chosen peace. The commune and nesting draining is closer to safety, coming back online, not collapse. The trouble is, from the inside, those two can feel almost the same. And that's the entire problem we're going to solve. Hold on to that. It's about to matter. Because there's a second word these videos borrow, and they get it just as wrong. The phrase is emotional cutoff. It gets used like a badge of honor. But the psychiatrist who named it, Murray Bowen, didn't mean it as one. He described cutoff as a warning sign, a way to lower anxiety in the short term, often driven by a fear of closeness and something to grow past. The healthier place he pointed to was being able to stay yourself and stay connected to the right people at the same time. Cutoff isn't the summit. It's a place people stop to catch their breath. Now the part nobody says out loud. Almost every video like this will flatter you. It'll tell you that you've become a master at reading people, that you're not paranoid, you're accurate. Research on betrayal trauma suggests the opposite is also possible. In work by Gobin and Freyd, high exposure to betrayal was linked to lower trust in general, not just toward the people who caused it across the board, even toward people who were safe. Which means the radar you sharpened doesn't only catch danger. Sometimes it flags people who were never dangerous at all. That's what happened to Tasha. Your alarm isn't lying to you. It's just not always right. So if relief doesn't prove anything, and the radar can misfire, how do you actually know if you're setting a boundary or hiding? There's a way to tell. It isn't a feeling. It's 3 questions. Part 3. 3 questions and 2 ways here. This comes out of research comparing avoidance to genuine boundaries. The difference isn't how it feels, it's how it behaves. Question 1. Is it flexible, or is it absolute? A boundary bends with context. You let some people closer on some days. Avoidance doesn't bend. It's everyone, regardless, with no door left open. Question 2. Is there a line of communication, or just sudden silence? A boundary leaves a thread. The other person has some idea of what happened and where they stand. Avoidance leaves them guessing forever. Question 3. Are you closing out the wrong people, or closing out everyone? A boundary is selective. It keeps out what hurt you. Avoidance keeps out people who never did anything just in case. Tasha failed question 3 without knowing it. She closed the door on someone who had never been the danger. This isn't a test you pass or fail. It's a way to see where you actually are. The point isn't the label. The point is finally being able to look. And before we go further, something needs to be said plainly. You were never a problem that needed managing. If you learned to read a room before you learned to read words, that wasn't a character flaw. That was a kid doing what a kid had to do to feel safe. That's not everyone's story. But if it's yours, the anger is allowed. You can be angry about it and still not let it pick your future for you. Because there are really 2 ways people end up here. One is slow. You give and give until there's nothing left, and the quiet is just the first time the giving stopped. The other is sharp. One betrayal rewired what closeness means, and distance became the only thing that felt survivable. Priya walked the sharp path. One wound, and the door shut on everyone. Same destination, silence and relief. But the way out is different for each. If you got here by emptying yourself, the work is learning to receive, not just give. If you got here through one deep wound, the work is learning that one person breaking trust doesn't mean every person will. Knowing which path you walked isn't about putting yourself in a box. It's about knowing what you actually need to practice. But there's a quieter question underneath all of this, and it's the one most people are afraid to ask themselves. Part 4. Peace or just numb? Is this peace or have I just gone numb? There's a real answer to that. Chosen time alone genuinely helps. In studies by Nguyen, Ryan, and Desi, solitude that people actually chose lowered high-intensity emotions like anger and anxiety. It restores something, but the research adds a catch that matters. Having the empty space isn't enough on its own. The same solitude is peace when it's used to reconnect with yourself. It slides into numbness when it's only the absence of other people. So the measure isn't how quiet you feel. It's this. In that quiet, are you with yourself or just away from everyone? If the quiet has started to feel like nothing instead of relief, that's worth taking seriously. This isn't a substitute for therapy. If that's where you are, please reach out to a licensed professional. That's not a smaller version of strength. It's a different kind. And here's the part the comforting version always skips. That blueprint from early in your life, the one that taught you closeness has a cost, isn't a sentence. It's a draft. Drafts get revised. So here's something concrete, not a slogan. Map your connections. Don't ask how many people you have. Ask who you actually laugh with, who you could call at 2 in the morning, who makes you feel safe in your own skin. Then look at the gaps not to fill them in a panic, but to see what you actually need. This is what the longest study on adult life keeps finding. The Harvard study of adult development, run for decades and now led by Robert Waldinger, didn't find that the people with the smallest circles did best. It found that the warmth of a few right connections predicted health and a longer life, and that the people who ended up truly isolated tended to fare worse. Quality, not crowd, but not nobody, either. Cutting everyone off isn't healing by itself, and it isn't ruin by itself. It's a question, not an answer. Is this quiet holding me still so I can recover or holding me away from something I still need? People will call you cold. You don't need them to understand. You just need to know whether you're building a boundary or hiding behind one. And now you have 3 questions to find out. Here's the line I keep coming back to. Walking away can be the bravest thing you do or the thing that quietly costs you the most. Same act. The only difference is whether you know which one it is. I make videos that hand you the tool, not just the mirror. If that's what you want more of, subscribe. That's the whole reason this channel exists. So tell me below. When you pulled away, was it the slow kind giving until there was nothing left? Or the sharp kind one wound that rewired everything? I read them, every one of them.